I had a pretty strange thing happen to me in the woods. It was in August 1971 when I was 8. It was August 21st to be exact, and the only reason I know that is because that day my cousins and I were playing an old game called Silly Sally. And I remember someone saying, Silly Sally likes August 21st but hates August 22nd. We weren't playing the rules right, but that's how the date stuck with me. Anyway, after the game, we decided to go pick some huckleberries so my aunt could make huckleberry pancakes the next morning. Now, huckleberries are like a small blueberry, but I think they taste much better. Now, Spellhollow Wood is full of huckleberry bushes and shrubs, especially at the edges of the woods before you get in too deep. And we were always eating those huckleberries in the summertime. So that Saturday, my sister and my 2 cousins went picking. And I remember it was a real hot, sunny day. And as we were filling our old coffee cans of berries, I wound up going further into the woods than I should have. It wasn't the first time I did this, but I think it became the last. One minute, I was about, 100 yards away from my cousins, just eating and picking from the bushes. And then it felt like the next minute, I looked around and all of a sudden I was alone. Really alone. I mean, I listened and I couldn't hear my sister or my cousin's voices at all. I ran back in the direction that I thought they were, but I couldn't find them. I called out many times, but the woods were silent. So I was scared, especially when the sky started to cloud up and it got darker all around me. And I can remember trying to tell myself to just calm down and just keep moving. But the more I walked, the more I started to notice that everything around me began to mist up. And in the mistiness, it got thicker, and I began to sweat like crazy. Because the more I went on, the less I could see around me. And the sky got really dark, like it was going to storm. And then I noticed something really weird. Creepy weird. I could smell something really disgusting. And a couple of years before, I had, it was a very bad ear infection. I had really throbbing pain in my cheek and my jaw, and I never forgot the gross smell that came from my ear. It was like something dead and rotting, just really nasty. And it was like that same thing that I smelled now, trying to find a way out of that thick fog all around me. And that just freaked me out all the more. And then I started walking on some rock, and it got more and more uneven. So I finally had to stop, because even though I could look down and see my sneakers, I couldn't tell where I was going. It was completely disorienting. So I stopped, and I crouched down, and I started to tear up and cry, because I thought, that's it, I'm done, and I'm never going to be found again. And then it got worse. As if someone heard me crying, I thought I saw something move in the fog, and my eyes followed this blur. And I know this is going to sound nuts, but I'll never forget it. It was a long face with eyes watching me about 100 feet away. And then I could have sworn it motioned to me to come over to it. And that was it. I covered my eyes, tucked my head in, and curled up on the rocks. I remember that rotten smell made me sick, and I was shaking with chills like I had a fever. And I stayed like that for a long, long time. I didn't move from that spot. And then I guess I must have nodded off to sleep. I don't know, but when I looked up again, the fog and the smell was gone, and the sun was out. And I still didn't get up for a long while, but when I did, I saw that I was almost on the edge of a cliff of rocks. And in the fog, I had no idea of this. But right away, I looked out in the direction of that face, and my heart started beating like crazy. Because 10 feet away from me, those rocks ended, and there was a sharp, deep drop down. That face was looking at me from thin air. And if I was stupid enough to have gone over to it, I would have been dead with a broken neck. My sister found me about 20 minutes, half hour later, calling out. And when she first saw me, she started crying. Not just because she found me, but because of how pale and clammy my face looked. And then she told me years later that she thought I was dead when she saw me, and that I was a ghost.